So what we have here is a mini lesson on the basic rules of arithmetic. I'm going to try to keep it to under 7 minutes, but basically what this is just a little example of kind of how the flipped classroom works. This will be what we do. You watch this video whenever you get a chance, whether it's at home or at school, and then you take the information you gather from the video and any notes you may take and bring it in, and we work the problems. So the mini lesson is the basic rules of arithmetic. Arithmetic is what it sounds like: adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. It can be something as simple as 2 plus 2 is 4, or y squared equals the square root of 25 plus 11. If you can build these to be really strong, you're adding, you're subtracting, multiplying, dividing, this will be just as easy as this. They won't really seem any different to you because you have a really good foundation. So what I want to help you with is to build on this foundation so that we can get from easy things like this that we all know to something more complex like this. But to do that, we have to start talking about numbers. And so one set of numbers, and there are more than one, but the one that we probably use the most is the set called integers. So integers includes 0 and any positives, 1, 2, 3, on to infinity, and also your negatives, -1, -2, -3. Basically, any number that's not a decimal or a fraction is going to be in this set that we call integers. Sometimes you'll see this symbol here is Z, which is the Zahl, and that's just the German word for number. So if you ever see this, that means that we're talking about integers. You may have seen this before: any order, any grouping. It's a way that you can say that basically if you have two numbers, 5 plus 3, that's equal to 8. The same thing is true: 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. It doesn't matter which order you write them in, they're going to give you the same answer. Another way is, normally we're thinking parentheses first: 3 plus 7 plus 5 is 15. Well, the same is true. If you move these parentheses, you have 5 plus 3 plus 7. You're still going to end up with 15. It also works for multiplication. You have 5 times -3 is -15, and -3 times 5 is -15. So it doesn't matter which order you write them in, as long as you're just multiplying or just adding. You can do it in any order and still get the same thing. Another property that we have is the additive identity. That means you can take any number or any integer and add 0, and you're going to get that same integer back. So something like 10 plus 0 is equal to 10. So that's a property of integers. We also have a multiplicative identity. And that says that any number times 1 is equal to that same number. So like 10 times 1 is equal to 10. We have an additive inverse, and that means that any number plus the opposite of that number, and we call that negative whatever number, is going to give you 0. So -10 plus the opposite of that, which is 10, is going to be equal to 0. Same is true: 7 plus its opposite, -7, is 0. And lastly, we have the distributive property. And I feel like this one's the most useful, but basically it tells us that we can take a situation like 4 times parentheses 50 plus 3, and that is equal to 4 times 50 plus 4 times 3. And the way I like to think about it is you're taking this and you're distributing it to each of these terms. So you're doing 4 times 50, and then you're doing 4 times 3. So 4 times 50 is 200, and 4 times 3 is 12. So we add those two together and we get 212. That's the distributive property. So how can we use or how can you use the distributive property? Say a situation like 5 times 99. Now, right off the top of your head, what is 5 times 99? Well, I don't know either. So the way we would use the distributive property is to change 99, to change it to 100 minus 1. And then we take, like we did before, we distribute the 5 there and there. So now we have 5 times 100, which we know is 500, minus, don't forget the sign in the middle, 5 times 1, which is 5. And that's pretty simple. 500 minus 5 is 495. So if you can think about it, breaking it down to something easier, the distributive property will allow you to get to your answer. So just to recap, we talked about integers, which are 0, 1, 2, 3 to infinity, also your negatives. Any order, any grouping, meaning you can add 3 plus 5 or 5 plus 3. It's going to give you the same thing. We have additive inverse, a multiplicative inverse, or identities, I'm sorry. Additive identity, multiplicative identity, an additive inverse, and the distributive property. And these are all basics that we can use to add, subtract, multiply, and divide.